Israel Adesanya did a little media over the weekend. Looked great, by the way. Did you guys see him? He did a little cameo, had on the starter jacket, cheering for Volkanovski, but he did a little meeting. He got up in front of a camera, and somebody asked him about Francis Ngannou. Now, that's underhanded. I mean, not for nothing. They knew that that was going to be controversial by Adesanya. They knew of the relationship, and they knew that it was a deeper relationship than just same sport, co-worker, superficial. That it had ties back to Cameroon, where they're both very, very proud. So there was a lot on asking him this question, in all fairness. And Adesanya handled this beautifully. And he stuck up for his guy. You bet he did. He said he didn't do anything diva-esque. Said he asked for some little things, some things that probably should already be taken care of anyway. And then he gave a couple of examples. The example Adesanya gave had to do, I hadn't heard this one yet. I heard a few from Francis, but I don't remember hearing this one. Just that, somebody on an undercard apparently gets one cornerman or two cornermen paid for, but there's three in the corner total. Pay for that third guy. Get him a plane ticket. And by the way, get him a hotel. Okay. And Adesanya was out. He didn't put down the company. He stuck up for his guy. He didn't answer the question. He handled the question. It was excellent. It really was excellent. I didn't like that he got put in that position. He handled it perfectly. What would need to happen for us to all realize that Izzy's right? And I've heard a lot of people say that they're proud that Francis stood up. So what would need to happen for us all to stand back and just, please give him his applause. Tell him what a great job he did. What would we need to see? Does he got to get that fight with Fury? Probably. Or one in kind, right? He'd go with that big guy that doesn't sweat named Joshua. He probably couldn't do much with Wilder, but maybe. Does it have to be that, though? Is there a chance he can just get his knee better, get his weight back under control, and return? Turn to the organization for the very championship that he never lost in the first place, which might be held by a guy that he just beat. I mean, right? Why can't he come back? Why can't we talk about that? And what has to happen for it to have been good? And it seems like a sweet thing he did, sticking up for a guy on the undercard. I mean, it seems like a sweet thing. If you were looking out your window, guys, and my neighbor backs out of his driveway and he smacks right into my car, and he leaves, a hit and run, a crime, vandalism, you could call the police. Sure you could. And you could report that. You could come tell me. You take a picture of it. You could be very helpful in a potential future investigation. One thing you cannot do is you cannot sue my neighbor. You would not be able to sue my neighbor and say, no, he did a crime. He backed into Chael's drive. He peeled out of here. He did that. That's his bumper. He caused this, and I'm suing him. The court will tell you, you don't have standing. It's a very basic legal term. But you would have to have standing in a matter. I would only bring that example to you because if you're looking to come in and be the great savior that was going to get an undercard guy, an extra cornerman, I mean, it seems like a decent thing to do. You just wanted to have standing in the matter. So, if you do that and you don't sign a deal, you now just became unemployed. You're out of the main event. You're off TV. You're no longer the champion. And for the quadruplet, you're unemployed. That's where we are right now. Yet, a number of people whose opinions I appreciate, including Adesanya, said bravo. They said bravo. They just signed record deals. They do have participation. They remain champion, pay-per-view, championship fights. And they're employed. Or it's one of those spots. If this was good, if this was the right thing to do, when do we know? What has to happen before we all see it, before we all recognize it? I've always had a hope that Francis will go get whatever that boxing thing, whatever that is. Right? And I have to word it like that, right? Because the only thing they've told us is that they are not going to box and they're not going to do MMA. That's all they've told us is they're going to create a sport. They're going to make something up and put it on pay-per-view that has to do with trying to hurt your opponent. That's all they've told us. So I got to word it like, I got to say whatever that is. Okay, whatever they're going to go make up. Their little game of grab ass over here happens, and then Francis rolls right in, gets his date to line up, and either does business with Surreal or Jones. That's been my hope. But as I play that through in my head, right, we understood why Jon came back. Jon has nowhere else to go. He's a prize fighter. He has to go. We understand that Jon got starved out and is now back. But if Francis is to go and have that fight, the thing, right, the game of tag, in theory, he wouldn't be in the same position. He wouldn't be coming back for the financial element. He would be coming back for the love of competition and desire for a sport. And I think maybe that's unlikely. It's always been my hope. I want Francis to get everything. I want him to play this game of grab ass, and I want him to come back, and I want him to fight Jon Jones. I really do want those things. But I've seen this more times in life than I care to admit. And when somebody doesn't want to do something, and they bring up a reason, they bring up a smokescreen, they come out and tell you this is the only thing getting in our way, it doesn't change. They didn't want to do that thing. They still don't want to do the thing, and now they've just found a thing to say is the reason they're not going to go do the thing.